Hello, good evening. It's been a long time since I've done a live video, and it occurred to me that I need to plan my live videos further in advance because I was, in the middle of watching the show, and then I realized, oh my God, I haven't actually scheduled anything yet. But thank you so much if you're tuning in. Let me know what you think of the results. A few surprises. I mean, as there are always surprises. I'm also gonna try and keep my voice down because I'm sharing a space with my stay here in Basel. But yeah, I mean, you know, quite interesting results in some ways. I'm gonna take this image from Eurovision World because I've got this open here and it just makes it easier. And then I'm gonna add it and hopefully, oh, good. So when I started, nobody was waiting. So I'm glad that some people have tuned in. I'm just adding the, where did I save that to? I hope I saved it to the desktop. There we go. I have very short-term memory, so always helps to have this up here. Okay, so our qualifiers are Albania, Estonia, Iceland, Netherlands, Norway, Poland, Portugal, San Marino, Sweden, and Ukraine. So for myself, I got 7 of these. In my situation, it's I only guess up to 9 because in each semifinal there's one country that I don't talk about as per my boycott. But nonetheless, I have to say very happy about Portugal. There have always been these concerns with the juries not in the semifinals anymore that Portugal, is going to struggle. And in this case, I think people were more doubtful than ever that they were going to make it through, but they did. The two that I had not qualifying that did qualify were Iceland and San Marino. And I mean, in both cases, I don't think it's like that much of a surprise. I think that in both cases, they're both kind of fun party songs. But yeah, I mean, I think each of them have their issues, and I wouldn't have chosen them personally, but good for the fans of both of those. But let's see what some of you are saying. Hello to Jesse Bernard. Hello to TH. Feel free to let me know a different name to call you if you prefer that. I don't just go for initials. Hello to Camilla. Can you believe it? I can actually. The only one that I would say, well, yeah, I don't know. I feel like all of them are believable. The one that I guess I'm most disappointed about is Belgium not making it through because Belgium was one of my favorite songs. I do have to say, however, that with the staging, I don't think it was the right approach. I think they were doing way too much. They could have sold the song in much more of a similar way to how it was presented at Eurosong. But yeah. Um, Jesse saying, honestly, San Marino shocked me, and I can't believe Ukraine was last to qualify. Yeah, I mean, at that point, everybody knew it was going to be Ukraine. I don't think there was a doubt in anyone's mind that it wasn't going to be Ukraine. Yeah, I don't know why they would keep that one for last. Excuse me. Maybe I should drink some water before I dive into talking with you all. Oh, wow, quite a few people tuning in. Thank you for joining me. If you're new here by any chance, please subscribe to the channel, but we'll save that for a little bit later. Let's see what you're saying. Feel bad for Slovenia. Yeah, I mean, Slovenia had a touching story. Uh, yeah, I don't think there was ever a lot of faith in it qualifying, unfortunately, but at least it seems to have found its audience. TH saying, glad to see Portugal qualify. Um, Elise Noah saying, so shocked that we lost Cyprus and Belgium. Yeah, I heard a lot of people saying that they were expecting it to be one or the other, and in this case, both of them were out. Yeah, I think in both cases, well, I think in Belgium's case, it was a matter of staging. I think in Cyprus's case, the staging was fine. But the song, I think the song was not interesting enough, and it was one that when it debuted, it took a few times to actually register, and like I didn't really listen to the song after it debuted, so it was mostly coming up in recaps. Um, but yeah, I really thought it was either going to be Iceland or San Marino. I was shocked when both of them got through. Yeah, it's funny, right? Like a lot of people tend to think of these kind of like either or scenarios between countries, but sometimes two pairs make it through, or two of the same pair make it through, and then another pair loses out. Um, yeah, so it seems a lot of people are surprised about Iceland making it through. Tomas saying Portugal and San Marino shock qualifiers. We got a proud Portuguese fan here. Happy from Portugal, sad for Cyprus and Belgium. Yay for Portugal. But what was all of this off-key singing tonight? Tonight, bring cherries back. Yeah, there were a few that were quite off, unfortunately. But yeah, that's just how it goes sometimes. I have to say too that based on the clips that we'd been seeing before we got to the rehearsals, it seemed as if like it was quite consistent. So I wonder if it's something with the technical setup. Don't mind me as I try and push my hair around a little bit, just noticing a little peak at the top. But final two songs did not qualify. What was before Cyprus? Oh, Croatia. Yes, that's right. Yeah, Croatia didn't make it through. Um, so happy that we got Iceland and Portugal. Oh my God. Camilla got 8 out of 10. I thought that Belgium and Cyprus were going to go through instead of San Marino. Khalil saying Belgium and Cyprus got robbed. Yeah, so a lot of fans disappointed about that. Parabéns, Portugal. Parabéns. Um, I loved Portugal, but it did not deserve over Belgium and Cyprus that had excellent stagings. So yeah, it seems lots of people kind of surprised about the same things. Thomas saying I legit thought Ukraine would be out at that moment. Yeah, I don't think that's gonna happen. And I mean, like, I'm also, it seems like I'm one of the few advocates for the song itself. That's not something that a lot of people are showing this year, I have to say, which makes me a bit sad, but I don't know, it's just how it is sometimes with Eurovision. Um, Sweden was announced really early. Do we think they possibly didn't win the semi? So I would like to believe that it was Albania. It's just the thing is, like, apart from being a fan favorite, it's been interesting to see just kind of like the creators that don't do Eurovision dedicated stuff, but they do like Eurovision. They include Eurovision with the breadth of what they do. When they come across Albania, they seem to really vibe with it. So it's starting to make me think that it has a bit more of a broad appeal. But I kind of still think it's Sweden. It's just like if it is Albania, then I'll be really really happy. Um, so happy for Portugal, but devastated for Red Sebastian on his birthday. Oh, that's too bad. Poor guy. In case you don't know, huge fan of trance music. This is like the tranciest song that we've ever had at Eurovision. So I would have definitely liked to see that qualify. But at the end of the day, I don't know. I'm going to be still listening to the studio version, and that's all I can say. And then this person pretty much echoing that. Um, Kalu saying San Marino qualifying, huge surprise. Maybe Italy being in the semi helped. Definitely. If you don't know, I'm sure that if you're like a really dedicated fan, then you know that Tutta l'Italia was originally written as the theme song for the Sanremo Music Festival. And then it somehow made its way to San Marino's selection and then won it. And here we are. And then this would be only the fourth time, I'm pretty sure, that San Marino has been in the final, which is pretty cool. Lisa, sad for Clement, not shocked, but I found it that touching, and I would have been happy if it made it. Yeah, and I think that like having his wife on stage was so crucial to get the not necessarily the message of the song, but to make sure that like people understand that this is a real story, that she had this rare disease and she was not expected to survive, and she did. Um, as for the song, kind of on the nose in a lot of ways, but yeah, it's nice to see that it is reaching people. Ian Adams saying, "What could Cyprus and Belgium have done more? I'm so sad." Uh, yeah, I don't want to repeat myself too much, but again, I think Belgium, the issue is staging. Uh, make it simpler. It definitely had some cool moments, some moments where it was highlighting the atmosphere, and that's what they needed to stick to, not these additional dancers on stage. I liked, for example, like the triangles with the eyes inside. But yeah, I think if they would have gone for like big light show, Sebastian standing with the microphone, belting his heart out, not having to move at all, and then just kind of filling in the blanks with camera shots, I think that would have been plenty. But yeah. Aiden's so happy for Iceland and Portugal. Ian happy for Vibe. Hello to Julian. Was there any performance you were surprised to see? One in particular? Um, well, The biggest surprise when I saw the rehearsal yesterday was Switzerland. Switzerland, and I have to say it's really too bad that there was a camera error, which kind of interrupted the well, I mean, it interrupted the visual aspect of the performance. It didn't bring the performance to a stop, but so impactful, so well done. Eventually, I believe that when they post that performance, they will probably use the rehearsal footage. So please watch that. Switzerland is doing an amazing job this year with the staging. It's just the right type of like delicate and tasteful and just really beautifully done. So that was the one that surprised me. Didn't really come through tonight specifically, but hopefully they give. I mean, like we'll be seeing it in the final anyway. But when they post that performance on YouTube, please check it out because it was amazing. Neil Era saying, "Music won Portugal." um, I love the song, and I always love Portugal entries, but I believe that it wasn't that strong to qualify. What might I mean? I don't know what your background is or where you're from. I'm also not Portuguese, but I often dig into the context of certain songs. And with this song, Deslocado means displaced. And the concept behind the song is, the feeling of coming home after being away for a long time and feeling like, a fish out of water. Let's say, you've gone to a big city, you're in a very different environment, and just that feeling of longing for home and, making that decision to go back. And so one of the reasons why I always thought that it had a shot was that Portugal has a diaspora, and in this case, it's a song with a theme that a diaspora can directly relate to if they have that affinity for home. So yeah, I also have to say, it's one of those songs this year that has a composition behind it that is effective, and I can't say the same about like Cyprus or I mean Iceland did qualify, but Iceland's selling points are different. Like obviously a party song doesn't necessarily need to have like the most interesting musical chords behind it, but the guys from Portugal they come from a different world, a world that's not really Eurovision focused. So yeah, anyway, very interesting to see all this talk about Portugal. Um, Carlos would want to see Estonia out and Belgium in. I would be all for that because I simply do not care for Estonia this year. Um, a lot of people saying they're sorry for Slovenia. Frog saying, so glad Ukraine and Albania qualified. Yes, let's talk about Albania, please. I don't know if I've already, when I dive into this, my head's all over the place, but Albania, oh yeah, that's right. We did talk about it when somebody asked me about whether Sweden won the semifinal. Albania is great this year. They deserve a really good result in the final. I guess the question is how are the juries going to feel about it? But I think that what would be maybe the best case scenario would be like a Shum kind of results. I mean, it's never like exactly like that, but I feel like this could be jury top 10, but not necessarily in the top five, not where the jury points kind of gather. Also, big question about whether or not we'll be seeing what we've been seeing in the last 2 years, where there's one song that pulls in all the 12s, and then everybody else is kind of competing for scraps, and then that decides the winner. Obviously, not a result, not an ideal result, especially 3 years in a row, but could also be an indication of why having juries out of the semifinals could be leading to this, as people have theorized. What else? Oh yes, Rob Alexander. Loved seeing so many Palestinian flags. Yeah, so if you don't know, the rules have changed this year. Before they used to put restrictions on which flags would be allowed. Now in the audience, you can take in any flag that's allowed under Swiss law. And I imagine that they'll carry that over to future shows so that it applies to the local laws. And yeah, it is important to see that people do care about this and they do not approve of the direction that the contest has gone in. I mean, to some degree, because they're still there in the show, they're still paying for a ticket, and some people would not consider that fully boycotting it. I mean, it isn't fully boycotting, but it's still sending a message that there's a lot of disagreement about how Eurovision is operating these days. Harry's saying, I didn't feel like Belgium had great vocals tonight, though, which cost them. Yeah, I mean, I think that we didn't see quite as strong of a vocal performance from what we saw at Eurosong, for example. I think like Eurosong was like really, really top tier. And, sometimes what could happen is it could be a matter of fatigue, just, going through all the motions in going from rehearsals to interviews to I don't know, other preparations, rehearsals, and well, yeah, rehearsals, lots of rehearsals. But yeah, anyway, um, hot take. I didn't like Estonia tonight. I just felt shocked about it. Yeah, I mean, the Estonian fans are very passionate. People are really, really committed to this. I don't know, this character. They love this character that Tommy Cash is, and I just don't. Um, Kanabai asking, was there something weird, wrong or weird with the sound mixing? I felt the backing vocals were way too loud and some of the singers way too low. In those kind of environments, it's never perfect. Often we hear, some issues here and there, and then like you also have to remember too that it's a competition. Um, Tensions are high. Sometimes when you do a sound check, because everybody they have this sort of like rotation where when one act is being performed, there's like another zone where the next act will be waiting, and then before that, there's a zone where they're doing their like they're doing a sound check, and I assume that the settings get carried over to the live TV production. But when nerves kick in, sometimes the singers' voices can be a little bit louder than they were in the sound check, or quieter, and all those things. So there are all kinds of very specific adjustments that can, uh, or not specifically adjustments, but there are all kinds of things, all kinds of factors that can affect. Like even if you think that you prepared everything as best as you can, things can still go wrong. Stu, is it expensive in Switzerland? My God, yes. Everything costs twice what it is back home. But I'm having a lovely time. Basel's a lovely city. I've had a number of locals actually come up and talk to me in different situations, and people are quite friendly. So yeah, it's not a knock against the cost of living is not a knock against Switzerland or Basel. Maybe come for a few days and then go somewhere else. But it's a nice place, I have to say. Um, TLC, Portugal was dead last in the odds. Good for them. We need songs like these in the final. Well, that gives me hope for some other songs in semifinal too that are not looking good in the odds, but I have strong feelings about them. Um, more people shocked about Belgium. Adam Bassett saying, glad for Vibe despite their audio mixing. Hopefully that gets fixed. Thrilled about Albania, Netherlands, and shock Portugal qualifier. Great Muppet saying, so happy for Napa and Vibe. Where are we with these? Okay, so I'm not. Sometimes when a lot of comments come in, I can be like really far up the queue, but I think I'm catching up. Um, Ooh, it sounded like there was a lot of added crowd sounds. Yes, it did. It definitely did sound like that. Um, one last year when I watched the first rehearsal, things are a little bit different this year with press access because the first rehearsal of the full run through of the show, it happens during the day and it's closed to the public but open to the press. In previous years, you would be able to watch that from the press center or the online press center if you're watching online. This year, they changed it so that rehearsal can only be watched from inside the arena. And so it doesn't get played on the screens in the press center or out to the people who have online accreditation. And that was how I realized last year that they were using not pre-recorded, but they were using the anti-booing technology because the arena was empty and yet you heard substantial audience, and so they were doing the crowd shots, like practicing the crowd shots when they're going to the different seats and where you would normally see people jumping up and down and celebrating, and it was empty and yet you heard full applause. So I don't think anybody should be surprised that the audio is being manipulated once again this year. We know that there's a big potential for Israel to be booed. Somebody that I was watching with also said that they thought that they heard Azerbaijan booed too, which would surprise me because nobody ever talks about Azerbaijan's participation and the violence that they've committed. The expulsion of 100,000 Nagorno-Karabakh citizens. So if anybody can confirm that actually happened, let me know. What else? Oh, thoughts about the hosts and interval acts. I would love to hear what you guys have to say about that because I really don't have a lot of positive things. The thing is, the hosts are quite stiff, I have to say, and I think like Hazel was kind of poking fun at herself, saying like, "Oh, I had to learn English for this," and I think that tonight it was a little bit better than yesterday. There were certain moments where I felt like, okay, I kind of get your vibe, but I felt like there were a lot of awkward jokes. The end in particular, I don't know if this is a byproduct of. Sorry if my voice is a little scratchy. I'm keeping my voice down because I'm sharing a space and it's almost midnight. But yeah, the end of the show when she's just kind of like riffing with the different people in the different performers in the green room, that is obviously filler. And my suspicion is that the qualifier sequence, the new qualifier sequence, has required a lot more planning than they anticipated. So they needed to fill that time with something. Because otherwise, like if you really wanted to have like a nice and tight show, you would plan that out a bit more. And even last year, when they'd done their green room segments, it was a lot tighter. They didn't spend a lot of time with individual countries. In fact, I don't really know if anybody was handed a mic. It was more like Petra was kind of moseying around and saying a few things to people here and there. And when we saw those rehearsals, it was always the same cues. Whereas in this case, like it was very different from what we saw last night. They went to more or less the same countries, but it was they didn't like cover the same topics. It was kind of all over the place. And as for this like musical review thing, it's just really cheesy. I assume that like people who are maybe people who are really into musical theater like that kind of thing. Um, and I understand it's Eurovision. You expect some cheese. I know that this is not like really avant-garde and emotionally depth art, but there is always a limit, and uh, the over the top like it's way too over the top in my view. But anyway, that's my little rant about hosts and interval acts. Maybe we'll see something that's a little bit better as the week continues. Um, Hassan saying, so glad to see Yolanda, Marina, Sylvester, and Jerry back. Just need Bambi and Nemo to complete the crew. Oh yes, I noticed that too. I noticed that they were kind of like part of that circle. Ollie was also a part of that, and like the thing is though, I wonder how many people were offered to participate in this and declined. And I'm sure that some people would have argued that some of like especially because like Yolanda and Sylvester, they signed the letter last year, the statement condemning. Well, I mean, not necessarily condemning Israel, but calling for a ceasefire and the release of all hostages. And so I'm sure that there's some people who believe that they probably shouldn't have agreed to come back. Nonetheless, they did, and I'm not going to pass that judgment on them myself. I know that it's yeah, you can only tackle this topic as you know so much. Kailu saying Albania's performance was incredible and gave me full-on goosebumps. Wouldn't be surprised if they won. That would make me really happy. I would. It seems like so. It's so unthinkable because they haven't won ever. The like it doesn't seem like it has the all the qualities that a winner would have apart from just being awesome. And well, I mean, I would say that there is definitely jury appeal there. I think that if you have some composers on the jury, I think that they'll appreciate what they've done. Production's really solid, has a really catchy chorus. It, it's my hope that this will be jury top 10 and then third, seconds in the televote. Um, Harry saying, I felt bad for Croatia's act. I don't like the song, but the artist seems so nice. Wanted to hug him during the voting sequence. Yeah, that was a curious one. And at one point, like tonight, I was actually starting to think maybe they would qualify because, the song's dynamic. It kind of goes into the extremes of going like hard and dissonant, but then into like the nice kind of sweet parts. And lighting looked great. It looked like had some of the best lighting of the night. But yeah, maybe for the average viewer, it was a bit messy. But yes, Marco seems like a really nice guy. If you don't know, in 2022, he participated in the Croatian selection with a song called Moli za nas. Very different style of song. It's slower and really atmospheric. But that was one of the favorites to win, and it didn't that year. So please check that out because that's one of my favorite songs to have discovered from Dora. What else? Um, yeah, it's a lot of the same, the same topics that we've been talking about. I'm just going to be, thank you, firstly for sending in your comments. I just want to make sure that we can get in a different uh, thing to talk about, and maybe, if not, then maybe I'll wrap it up. Okay, Aburki. Switzerland was absolutely magical. I just watched the video of the performance that was uploaded. Please do that if you haven't done so. Well, you can. I'm not going to insist that you stick around here. If you want to tune out of me and watch Switzerland, then please do that. But in any case, at some point, check out the un the unimpeded performance of Switzerland because I think that people are really going to like it. What else? Jason saying, I was glad that Claude had the mirror moment with the little boy from the music video. Yeah, that was a really nice way to end the song. Netherlands is an interesting one because it's a very well written song. It's like it's one of those songs where you only need to hear it once to get a sense of what it is and to pick up on its melody. Um, I don't know how much I like it personally, but I respect it. It's one of those things where it's like it's not shattering my world or anything, but it's big thumbs up to them. And the Netherlands often does long takes with their performances. I haven't quite looked into it, but they often worked with a staging director named Hans Pannekuke, and he did like Common Linnets, and he did Duck and Lawrence, and he often would do those long takes. Oh, also Hooverphonic from 2021. And yeah, it's just like when you're able to make it dynamic and just kind of fill in the blanks with a bit of lighting. I'm a big fan of that. So yeah, I even though I might not be listening to the Netherlands song, I'm still I feel a lot of love for it anyway. Andre saying, I believe that this year's vocals overall are worse than previous years. We'll just add that to the list of things that are not quite like how they used to be, right? Estonia and San Marino qualifying is homophobic. That's funny. Maxime saying, if I'm being honest, Estonia's vocals are so shaky and they only vote for him because they like the song and the memes. Controversial opinion, but Croatian Belgium's vocals were much better in live just now. So, I mean, when it comes to Eurovision, I mean, this is something that Christer Bjorkman once said. Each entry has a different star of the show. And there are obviously certain songs where the vocals are central to it and it needs to be really effectively sung in order for it to reach the audience. In this case, vocals are not even secondary. They're like bottom of the list, really. It's about the antics, it's about the character. Yeah, I understand that people are really passionate about this, but not me. Um, this is an interesting one. No way Cyprus didn't qualify with that staging, but San Marino did. So like if I had to choose between those two songs or those two entries, well, actually, if I'm being perfectly honest, if I would have chosen between the songs, I would have still gone for San Marino. But in terms of staging, yes, I would have gone for Cyprus because that was at least there was quite a lot of thought put into that. I think that it wasn't. I think that they still needed to make those structures look a little bit more purposeful because it looked like they just picked them off. They went to a construction site and just brought them on stage. It needed to be a bit more polished in that sense, but yeah. Martina, probably the first person to say this. I knew that Belgium wasn't going to qualify. Well, I hope that somebody buys you a drink for getting that prediction right. Jose saying Portugal should have subtitles like Italy to get the message understood. I don't think so. I think tonight is a good example of why they didn't. I mean, maybe because I did mention that it could have been diaspora that, or very likely had played a role in this. It's getting very late, and my English is failing me. My first language is failing me. But in any case, like, because I don't really know how I feel about having the entire song subtitled in Italy's performance. Um, yeah, but yeah, I don't know. I think they're doing a pretty good job as it is. Harry says I couldn't care for Estonia either. Alexandria asking, will there be a press conference with the winners? So I haven't actually looked into that. I'm gonna hop over to YouTube and see, because I thought I heard something like they weren't doing that. Um, but let me find out. Eurovision semifinal press conference. Yeah, okay. It doesn't appear to be on YouTube. Yeah, they have the live stream. Yeah, the live stream for the actual semifinal. But yeah, so I don't think so. Maybe there. I don't know. Somebody might know what the alternate plan is here. Beatrice got so many cheers when she was voguing. I was so happy. That's yeah, and I think that they've done things very cleverly. Like they have they really worked out like the blocking in the best possible way. LEDs, great use of the LEDs, and then having that little dance move that works on TikTok. Like they've got a great entry this year, and like Gustavo, I would like to see Albania be the winner. Um, Fluffy Doodly saying Albania and Croatia had the awesomest vocals. TLC saying overall I'm pretty okay with the results. I just would trade Iceland for Slovenia. Never been a fan of the other non-qualifiers. Yeah, I would be okay with. I mean, I would be okay with Slovenia being in, especially in place of Iceland, which is like Iceland is. I'm fine with it. There are a lot of songs this year where I'm like, yeah, that's cool. You do your thing. Okay, so I'm just going to kind of dig through these comments because we've talked extensively about, Belgium and Cyprus being shock non qualifiers for a lot of people, Portugal being a shock qualifier for a lot of people, San Marino making it in there. Um, I'm just going to look through these to see if we can find something else. So some people are showing some love for the Made in Switzerland song. I can't say that I share that love. What else? Okay, this is interesting. I'm shocked how people are complaining about the jury and then in the final they say vice versa. Yeah. I'm so happy for Poland, Ukraine, and Albania getting through. Jesse Bernard saying Estonia's song. I don't hate it. I actually like it, but I just find it overhyped. And unlike serving Kant, the novelty has worn off quickly. Um, well, I think that for other people, the novelty of Kant has also worn off too. Pan Smile saying, is it just me or did Ukraine's feel not that polished? Yeah, I would say that that is an issue with Ukraine this year. It isn't as polished as we normally expect. Um, I would say it's mostly about vocals. Staging, it looks overall good. I think that they've done certain things a bit excessively, but I've had that criticism of Ukraine in the past as well. But like more positives than negatives in my opinion. And again, like just musically, it's nice to have something like this in the final because it stands out from others. Um, Lucy Eloise saying, pleased Portugal is in the final. Love the Netherlands, such a beautiful song. Shame about Slovenia, such a special message. Um, Cosplay of Alessandra in It's an Outrage. I'm not sure what you're referring to, Gustavo, but Samuele is saying Marco seems super nice, but the song though, yeah, I mean it is one of those kind of love it or hate it songs. My heart was hers to ruin. I love Portugal's entry, but I didn't expect it to qualify, so I emotionally disconnected from it. Their qualification caught me off guard in the best possible way. That's always a pleasant surprise, right? And I kind of felt the same way where I was just kind of I was even though when I did my qualifier predictions, I put them in anyway because I was like I want to believe in them, and I put them in over Cyprus. But yeah, it is a really nice feeling when you after kind of resigning that a song isn't going to go through, even though you love it, then being proven wrong. If this might sound really silly if you've seen 2022, but my favorite song from that year was Serbia. And when they had announced 9 of the qualifiers, I was already like, okay, it's not going to happen. And there was all this discussion about like, were people going to get it? Is it too conceptual? Is it, too static for the fact that she's just sitting down? But I was wrong. And it ended up, tying for first in the televote with Sweden, and then finishing fifth in the grand final. So yeah, it's nice when you get that like pleasant surprise. Alejandro asking, do you think Spain has chances to win the final? I don't think so personally. Spain's song, I think, I do think that there's a path for a good result. I don't think it's necessarily for the merits that other people would say for Spain. I mean, she is a very solid performer. And what I do like about how they've approached the staging this year is that they've kind of segmented the performance into these like different scenes, and so it is actually quite well planned out. I would say that the first half is more interesting than the second half. By the time we get the columns in there, I'm not as interested. But as for winning, I personally don't see it. I could see like bottom of top 10. That I think is like the highest the highest that I can see a Spanish result. Andre asking, what do we think will happen on semifinal two? What shock qualifiers are we expecting? Let me hop over to semifinal two so I can remember who we're talking about. Okay, so in semifinal two, we've got Australia, Montenegro, Ireland, Latvia, Armenia, Austria, Greece, Lithuania, Malta, Georgia, Denmark, Czechia, Luxembourg, Serbia, and Finland. So, I mean, according to the odds have both, let me just check them to see if they've changed, but the odds have both Denmark and Latvia not qualifying. That to me is a real shame, and I hope that's not the case. I haven't seen no one's seen the full performances. I mean, none of the press has seen full performances for those yet. My one concern with Denmark, based on the clip, is that they've also done a little bit too much. I really think like I don't understand the cynicism around Denmark this year because they have a really solid pop song with a really powerful performer and someone who's charismatic. The staging that we saw at DMGP was not it wasn't special, but at least it kept her as the focus. Whereas what we've seen in these clips, I'm worried about the pullus being pulled off of her. Whether or not that will compromise its qualifying chances, I'm not sure. But yeah, I we'll see if that my opinion changes tomorrow, but I think it's going through. And then Latvia is just gorgeous. That song, if that song doesn't qualify, that'll be very sad. Um, yeah, it's been. I did an interview with Taptometas. If you're interested in that song, I'd love if you check that out. They really love what they do. They yeah, they've planned out every detail, and I really like that level of artistry. So I hope it's admired. Um, Dan saying at the end I saw Marco's face go all blank. Poor guy, I knew he wasn't going to qualify. Yeah, it's too bad. Again, check out Molizanas from Marco if you haven't done so already. Um, Tomorrow, boycott Israel. Yes. So yes, I think at this point we are kind of going circles in the discussion. But thank you so much for tuning in. There's quite a I wasn't expecting to have this many people in the live. And so if you happen to be new here, please subscribe to the channel so that you can check in with me later on in the week. I'm going to try and get another kind of like general impressions of semifinal 2 video out. Because we only see the rehearsal in the evening, it is harder to get it out as soon as I would like it. And that's like you get to see one run through of the show, make all your notes, and like that's it. And if there are any like differences that happen in the subsequent shows, then all of it's going to be irrelevant to the points that you make. But yes, I'd love to have you back for that. I don't know if there's anything else that I haven't said apart from another thank you. I'm sorry if you're just tuning in. But yeah, come back for another live. I'll do another one of these after semifinal 2, and I hope to see you then. Have a good night.